So, why is it that film directors and script writers and producers think that they could improve upon Robert Louis Stevenson? Treasure Island is one of the most iconic, one of the most amazing, groundbreaking books of literature. It is pretty much what established the modern genre of pirate fiction as we know it and popularized it. And for some reason, well, these people think that they can do better, which is why there is no decent film version of Treasure Island. So when I complain about this, people are always bringing up Treasure Planet and Muppets Treasure Island, which I would argue are actually different enough that they're good movies. They're not trying to be a rewrite. They're not trying to improve upon the story. They are taking it and putting a unique twist and spin on it to make it different enough. So like Treasure Planet, let's take the story, take the characters, but make it steampunk and put it in space, which is cool. And they did a pretty good job with that one. And then Muppets Treasure Island, I mean, who doesn't love Tim Curry as a very professional pirate? I've only actually seen it once and I need to watch it more. I mean, who doesn't love the Muppets? I didn't like them when I was a kid, but that was because I was scared of them. Now I love the Muppets. But all the other film versions, it's like they're trying to improve upon the story or they're not putting the effort in. So I'll go over a few. So back in the day, you had the original Disney version. And for the most part, like the casting was actually really good. The guy who played Silver was just so iconic in that role, really cemented it. Perfection of Silver. But the kid that played Jim, okay, first of all, he's from Iowa. He wasn't even from England, and he didn't bother trying a British accent. And then he talked like this, with his eyes all squinched up. And, okay, I've seen him in a few other things. He was an okay actor, but he acted too young and immature for the role of Jim, and was just overall annoying in the role. So, I mean, that's your main character. You have to have good appeal in your main character. So my cousins are always bringing up, well, what about the 1990s version with Charlton Heston and Christian Bale? And okay, a lot of potential here. Great casting. Charlton Heston as Long John Silver and Christian Bale as Jim. But the production of it was just so poor. They don't even bother making it look like Charlton Heston is missing a leg for half the film. You can tell he's just kind of like sitting on a barrel with his leg tucked under him. And my boss also told me that at that point, Charlton Heston was older and he was starting to have memory problems. And so he couldn't actually memorize the script, which gave him issues in how he portrayed the character as far as like putting emotion into the lines and stuff like that. They had to like have somebody on set who would kind of read it to him and then he would repeat it. And nothing on Charlton Heston. I feel for the guy. Could have been iconic in the role. I mean, if you're going to cast somebody as Long John Silver, I can understand casting Charlton Heston. But just, yeah, the overall production of the whole thing was just so lackluster to me. I don't want to say it was like 2006, 2008. They made this weird miniseries version where it was like 6 episodes or something like that. And oh my goodness, so wrong. And they do this a lot in films. They take the best of them and tear them down, like they did with Faramir in Lord of the Rings. Yes, Peter Jackson, I'm still mad about that. The character of the Doctor in this miniseries, he was like the bravest, the smartest out of all of them. And they turned him into this like coward dealing with like trauma from his past because his wife dies and he feels responsible and he's not actually a good doctor and he's just like super cowardly and pathetic the entire time. Why would you do that? Why would you do that to a wonderful character, or really any character? But why would you do that in this case, And then they gave Long John Silver this weird girlfriend character. And they would have scenes of her like walking around England, and then she shows up at the Benbow Inn and is hanging out with Jim's mom, and you're like, okay, what's going on here? Is she like a threat to Jim's mom? Is there like a whole side story going where we're going to see Jim's mom have to fight this woman off? She going to try to hold Jim's mom hostage? And never really got to see the conclusion of this. It was kind of like two women waiting for their son and their husband to come home. And I don't know if it was their attempt at like trying to humanize Long John Silver enough, which he is a very human character and very relatable on certain levels. That's why he's so iconic and so well written. But for some reason, people think today that in order to have an entertaining adventure story, you have to throw in unnecessary romance. So like they did with The Hobbit, where they created this completely unnecessary elf character, which nothing on Evangeline Lilly, she's a fantastic actress, but the character has no place in The Hobbit. It's an adventure story of these dwarves going and a hobbit and a wizard going off to fight a dragon. And for some reason they thought that wasn't entertaining enough. So they threw in an elf romance gone wrong. An elf dwarf romance gone wrong, which is like, why? Why would you ruin it? Why do you think you could improve like they're doing? But for some reason, directors and producers and writers have the audacity, the arrogance, if you will, to think that they can improve upon classic works of literature, like Robert Louis Stevenson's Treasure Island. And this is not by far the only book that they have done this to. Not at all. Aragon, The Hobbit, Narnia, Wrinkle in Time, Rings of Power, Percy Jackson, and a whole bunch of other books that I can't think of at the moment. But they can't do it, can they? And don't tell me it's because of budget. You can make all these Pirates of the Caribbean movies, and you made a Horatio Hornblower series featuring gun battles and boats, which was, lower budget, but it was pretty well done. And you can make Master and Commander, and you're just telling me that you can't make Treasure Island, or that it's just not exciting enough? Seriously. So I get that there are certain aspects of books that just don't translate well to film. I get that. Like the second Narnia book, Prince Caspian, half the book is them walking through the woods lost, trying to figure out how to get where they're supposed to be going. And I get that that would be really boring in a film. But you did not have to ruin it by substituting a Susan Caspian romance gone wrong, or constant fighting between Susan and Peter and Caspian because Susan and Peter have to be edgy now. What? Completely ruined the characters, was not in line with what the characters are supposed to be. So anyways, all that to say, they can't come up with a decent, true to the book and true to the spirit version of Treasure Island, and it's not like I don't want it. I would love to see a beautifully done film version of Treasure Island. I want to sail those high seas. I want to run around the island escaping from pirates. I want to know what the film score would sound like. What would the music of that adventure sound like? The waves crashing. But they just can't do it. So I'm not going to get it. And I'll just have to stick with the book. What is one of your favorite books that has been ruined in film format? Share in the comments below.